Welcome to Spirituelle Sunday, where women of the world meet. Every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, women from around the world unite for communion with true wisdom, soul purpose, and deep destiny. Watch us on most channels at Spirituelle Society or on our website at spirituellesociety.com. Each week, through inspired teachings, soulful reflections, and supermind secrets, we explore the deeper dimensions of spiritual leadership for women and what it takes to live a powerful, purposeful, pure, and prosperous life on this planet today. Hello, beautiful women of the world, and happy Mother's Day to you. I am so honored to welcome you, to be the welcomer of our show tonight, Spirituelle Sunday. And for those of you who are just seeing all of the advertising for this show and kind of intrigued, what is this show all about? Tell me more. Why should I be here? Kathy and I decided that this is such a sacred, pivotal, special time in the world for women. And although we didn't plan on starting a live broadcast, neither of us, we both agreed that women are being called right now to up-level, to engage in spiritual study, to graduate from their old life to a new chapter, but there's really nowhere to go. I know for me, I found that it's like, where do you go to be guided and supported and mentored? And so we decided that we want to offer a space for women around the world on Sundays, every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, to be your space holders, to be your guides, to support your spiritual study, and to share our own experiences with you so that you feel supported, because you can feel really alone. I talked to a lot of women this week, and they are feeling their soul opening and saying, you know what, it's time for my soul to be in charge. I'm tired of transactional living. I don't want to feel like a bot anymore. I want to live authentically, and I'm tired of living fake. But I'm not too sure who to talk to about this or where to go. And so what we decided to do was every week we're going to create a space with a very specific area of discussion to support you. This is for you, to support your journey so you don't feel alone, and that you can learn, what do I do? I want to live free. I want to feel free. Our souls are here to feel free, but we're so entangled in transactions and in being perfect and being inauthentic that we're weighted down. So tonight, our topic is excess and esteem, and the correlation between your evolution and how excess and stuffing your life and trying to please everybody weighs you down and hinders your momentum to your evolution for what's next for you. And so that is our topic for tonight. We are going to wrap up within the hour, and there is so much goodness coming that it's hard for us to keep all of this within an hour, but I'm going to pass it over to Kathy Roseborough, and she's going to take you through what to expect energetically and spiritually this week.
Yes, I am. And thank you for the lovely opening, because you are speaking to the hearts of women all over the world that are watching. And I think that one of the things we have to stay on top of, be aware of, be consciously aware of, is what's happening with the energy on our planet. Now, that might sound kind of like, what do you mean, what energy on our planet? Well, there's a lot of changes that we see in our day-to-day lives. We see it in the news. We see it in our own families. We see it in our personal day-to-day affairs. And it prompts us to start asking some questions. Asking the questions about where is humanity going as a whole? where are we going individually as a whole? So there's a lot of influences that take place from the divine within ourselves, within the greater, we'll call it the macrocosm of life. And sometimes we don't pay attention to them. And I think it's about time that we brought it to the forefront. So every Sunday, we're going to be sure to talk about the weekly energy shifts and forecasts. And this week ahead, we have a full moon. A full moon. So you might think, oh, what does that mean? Are we going to go into some emotional ups and downs? Not this full moon is it going to be about the emotion alone. It is going to be about your greater mind, and it is going to ask you to start to go rather deep. Now, the full moon, I'm not an astrologer, by the way. I go to what we'll call some, which I've been studying for years, we'll call it sort of more of an intuitive, meditative state, and go to a higher realm within our, when people go through meditation, they go to higher levels of consciousness. And everybody can do this. And that's what we're here at Spirituelle to teach you, is how to get connected to your soul, how to get connected to the influences of the consciousness that humanity is going through, and just where these influences originate. And I can tell you right now that we're talking about all our connections to the divine. Now, with that being said, the changes to the consciousness upon the planet, within humanity, they go through cyclic changes. They go through peaks and valleys. They go through some extremes. Sometimes we are exceptionally positive, and sometimes we feel like as Lee said, there's some heaviness and things that have to change. Well, this week ahead, is calling upon you to go a lot deeper than you normally have. So when we say go deep, what does that mean? Well, it's not about just the depth of your day-to-day life. It's the depth of who you are. Now, this is important, and this one I would like you to highlight if you're writing notes at all tonight. The depth of who you are. I'm going to suggest to you, encourage you to start to ask the deeper questions about where you're going, who you are, why you're born, and where are you going. Because as I've said it before, and I'll say it again, if you don't know who you are, you do not know where you're going. Now, that's big. So how does one begin to uncover the truth about their life, about your soul, your birth, why you're born and where you're going? Well, those are part of the reflections and deeper questioning that you have of life. It's about you asking the questions. It's about you taking yourself into quiet meditative practice. And it is about you uncovering the truth in the silence, in the inner knowing, in the quiet. So your week ahead, especially this week with the full moon, I'm asking you to please, and I encourage you to please take time to sit quietly and be in the silence. In the silence is when the inner or the still voice within starts to express itself to us. We start to hear our own connection to divinity. Why is it particularly important right now? Is because, as Lee said, women being tired of the transactional life, being tired of not getting where they need to be, having frustrations and upsets and so on. It's time for this to stop. And the divine universal consciousness is helping us. But if we don't sit down and reflect, and if we don't listen or go out in nature, it doesn't matter where you are, you must have time to reflect, because it's time to stop hitting that replay button. It's repetitive. It is you getting frustrated that it's the same old every day. You say yes to things that you shouldn't because you are on a repeat and a replay all the time. So even though you've outgrown something, you're still saying yes because you don't want to upset the apple cart in any way. Now, that does not help you. You're only going to get more frustrated. And instead, I'd like you to start to think about who you are and your definition of yourself, and start to think about what kind of an environment you want to live your life. What does that look like? Go a lot deeper. And I'm not talking about planning holidays this year. I'm not talking about planning vacations and things. I'm talking about deep. Right now, this week, we're going deep. We want to recognize our strengths. We want to be able to say, I know my skills that are inherent within me. And when you know and identify those skills, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise, you acknowledge and identify your skills, you identify your strengths, you're on the right track then towards finding out who you are and why you are born. So these are some very deep celestial forces that flow through humanity daily, weekly, monthly, cyclically. We have to look at much bigger cycles than this is, but we're going to let you know every week. And this is going to start to help you to curb that imbalance that's causing you to get pulled down and sucked into the excesses of the material world. You will find that the more strength you have in knowing who you are, the less you will be drawn down into the constant replay and same old, as the saying goes, that you've had enough of. And I think that this is where we have to start to look, is in that deeper reflective timeline. So expect that this week. Expect the celestial or the divine forces to be supporting you. And full moons are interesting because I'm not just looking at just the full moon and planetary, we're going into celestial forces here. This time is taking you to quite the decision-making time in your life. You've probably noticed that you've had it up to here.
That's such a good way. That's such a good way to explain it.
No more. So that is what is happening right now with the forecast.
Amazing. Yeah, and I feel this when we're working in our spiritual community and when we're mentoring women, that there is a healthy anger coming out. Like, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm tired of living Groundhog Day. I'm tired. But it's like, the first step is like, you notice and you observe you're living it, but you're still doing it.
Yeah. And you're still
and then you start getting frustrated and you're like, why? I'm so conditioned to follow a path that is unhealthy.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid to let people down, to let out my authentic self, because it's unknown. What's going to happen? What if I am alone? What if I lose all my friends? What if but the soul is like saying it's time. And I know you and I have talked about this. It's like, it's so time right now.
Well, it is. And this week, one of the things that will be, I'll say the force that's influencing you the most, we have to reach way back. And so, I'm not going to mince words on this. We have to reach way back into the greater mind of the divine. Remember that the mind, and we've talked about it a little bit last week, the mind is and the universal construct of the mind, it's a very orderly system. And when we start to find our life is getting away on us, where one day just leads to the next day, and all of a sudden a week's gone by and you haven't accomplished what you really want to accomplish, that's in alignment with, really resonates with you, that's just another week, and you look back and say, what happened last week? Okay, it's another week. Well, that's not living consciously. When you know who you are, you don't waste time and energy. You have a day that is fulfilled because it speaks to and is nurtured by the celestial divinity that is within you. It's a meeting of the minds. It's a coming together of that concept of the divine expressing itself. And so when the divine is expressing itself, and you are in harmony with that, you won't have these wasteful moments every week where it just time flying. I don't like that saying, actually, time flies. And they say time flies when you're having fun. Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. Time, it's like when you think about your time, you will enjoy your time, but it's more like a richness of time spent where it's fulfilling, where you feel like there's a depth to your life, having fun. And then next thing you know, the day's over, and it's like you haven't actually accomplished that which is nourishing. Like that's a problem. And so that's a good way of looking at now, given the energy that we're in as we're speaking about it, is to look at how about that in relationship to what's going on in the world. Like, why don't we pick that up now and think, well, if we are spending too much time just running along the surface of life, and we're in what we call a consumer demand, like there's just this sense of that we were put on this planet. This is a false sense of a false belief, of course, that we're put on this planet, we're just consumers. Well, then that just contradicts everything I know about the divine principles of creation. Because when we say, if you know who you are, you will not find yourself succumbing to those demands that are a waste of your time, your energy, your environmental impact changes from excessive to simplified and orderly when you know who you are. The way things are out in the world with this imbalance, we're finding that excess is supposed to be, and it's some way of evaluating or valuing ourselves.
Yeah.
The more things you have, the more value you have. It's like, no.
Yeah. And I think a common thread that's happening right now is women are waking up from the sleepwalking. And they're having a holy moment of, what am my excess, all of this excess time is being spent on all the wrong things. It's being spent on the superficial. I have no connection to my soul. I'm just, and a lot of women this week I've been talking to, it's like, I put everything into my job and I do so good at work.
Yeah.
And then when I get home, my life is void. I don't keep anything for me. This is happening everywhere. And I think women are waking up from this conditioned, unhealthy sleepwalk.
Yeah.
And they're putting their foot down and saying, okay, now what? I'm awake, I'm ready, but I don't want a fake life. Like, I know I'm here for authentic greatness, and I'm not showing it to the world. I'm hiding behind my greatness because I want to not shake or not rattle the boat. But look at the harm that does to the female body. And then we know, so we stuff and we shop and we consume and we eat our feelings, anything, and we're spilling over. And that energy of excess just floodgates into our life, and then it doesn't feel right.
Well, no, it feels it's totally out of alignment. And humans condition themselves to love their stuff. Like, they just love their stuff. And the more things that come in, we have excessive products, we have excessive luxury. I mean, how many handbags do you need? Like, it just goes on. And what are you hoping to achieve with all this stuff? And remember that it's a habit. You saw your generations before you either didn't have and wanted, or there was some sense of lack of your value. This is where we're going to go a little bit more into this esteem now, and the consequences of the excessiveness. You see, if you're looking at your life as you need to do and do and do and be, and you're not in alignment with your actual soul purpose, and you know who you are living the exterior life alone. So you are living like the mass consciousness is living, as we've been conditioned to believe that we're working so that we can get our money and spend that money and get a bunch of things that will show how valuable we are and
And
show
the
the
title.
value of ourselves, the worth of ourselves. And nothing could be further from the truth. It's the opposite. And that's why we're in the habit of birthdays and Christmas. It's like, what do you want? Oh, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas? How many times have you said, and women will answer this, I know you will out there, you're going to say, if you heard your child say or your partner say, what do you want? And sometimes you're like, I don't know. Because what do you want? Like, oh, okay, another bag. Oh, okay, another cup or another glass or another this. You don't really want it. And then I will tell you that as you go on with your development, because of course, at the beginning of our lives, we think, oh, it's about wanting. But as you go along, you're going to find this accumulation is only going to do one or two of two things. It's going to make you realize you want and need more because you have more money and you're going to want or need more and you have to keep going. Or you're going to realize that you're very sad and empty, like a shell sitting amongst all these things that you've accumulated. And then you're going to scoop them up and you're going to toss them and you're going to start again if you don't know who you are. And I'd like to jump on a little bit of a global hit here on our beautiful Mother Earth at the moment. How long do you think, I'm rhetorically asking you this, but of course, I would love for anybody to answer in the chat or to share their thoughts. How long do you think we can keep having these excessive demands on our planet and her resources that she gives and gives and gives and gives, and we keep on demanding more and start, we're actually at a point where there's concern because, and this is something I'm going to raise now, and then I'm going to show you, of course, and we should talk about the solution. Women ultimately have the power to change all of this. And that's why we're talking. This is our women's time together. Women have the power to change this all. Why? Because they can decide what they want in their house, in their homes, in their own lives, and they can put their foot down and say, that's enough. That's enough. We're hacking everything. If we're not hacking the earth, we're hacking the body. I looked up the word hack. Let me give you a little bit of a dictionary definition. Hack is to cut or sever with repeated, irregular, and unskilled blows. Biohacking, Mother Nature, of course, obviously doesn't know what she's doing, that we have to biohack it all, is editing and to improve the qualities and capabilities of living organisms, because for some reason, Mother Earth doesn't know what she's doing according to the experts. And then finally, we look at mining and we think mining is the extraction of valuable geological materials from the earth that obviously causes environmental impacts of disastrous results. So we're hacking our bodies, hacking the earth, hacking everything we get our hands on, from mountains to sand to fields to the oceans. We're hacking it all so we can have a bunch of stuff. Lee, what do you think we're going to start to do about that?
Well, I think I started feeling this 15 years ago, that I feel more happy and joyful the more space I have that isn't consumed with stuff. And I realized when I started, and it doesn't have to be shopping, there's no space to breathe in women are realizing, I actually want my house to be full of breath and air, and I want my kids to feel healthy, and I want to walk in my home and feel spacious, not stuffed up. We walk in our house and we have an instant anxiety attack because there's so much disorder everywhere. And this is why this conversation of excess, it harms us. And nobody's talking about this, but it's We have to move in the opposite direction of the masses. And as women listening to this, we have to do it now
That's
because
right.
the female system is breaking down, falling apart, shutting down. And if we're not careful, we will go back asleep and just be like, you know what, I think I'm going to let myself go. I tried, but it's too hard. I'm going to shut down and just have dinner parties, drink my wine, and live superficial.
Yeah.
And we don't want that to happen.
No.
So we're saying it's a very important time right now that you make really important choices and live, free your soul and free your space and recognize what you do with your day. Does it
Yeah.
feel true to you? Does it feel deep and powerful? Does it light your soul up? Because if not, no, the people you're trying to please don't care that they're stealing your life, right? They don't care. So it's our responsibility to be like, if I'm living out of alignment with my truth, with my soul, with what's important to me, I am the person that needs to awaken and put
Yeah.
my foot down.
That's
And
right.
as we move into our highest health talk for the week, every week we're going to talk about women's health.
Mhm. Yes.
We wanted to bring up the theme of anxiety because
Mhm.
it is now, it's not even I have anxiety. It's that there's so much distress and anxiety everywhere. You can't
Yes.
not have anxiety.
Yeah. Well,
Unless you cut the cord and remove yourself from the disorder. And so I know we have talked about this, but maybe you could share a little bit more about that theme.
well, I think this is it's all tying together when we say that this right from this week being about finding your time that's quiet and silent and going in with the breath and the meditation to the deeper part of yourself to begin to not only question but then to receive guidance. It'll build over time of who you are and why you're here. Now when you are doing the breath work and the meditation, you're reducing the underlying causes of anxiety, because anxiety, when you look at it, you can stuff it down for some time. A lot of people have dealt for years with anxiety, but what they do is they cover it up. They take their uncomfortableness and they start to shift conversations, or they start to, you know, divert, like just try to move away from it when they start to get into a panic or anxious mode. And if you look at the underlying causes of this that you're feeling, it's a deeper core of feeling unsafe because you're not in alignment with your soul. Because if you
Mhm.
had that alignment with your soul, you would be calm and you would be centered and you would know who you are. It's when you have these fragmented experiences throughout your life, right from the get go, where you may have found yourself with deep emotional traumas and insecurities and separation issues and things that were so non-supportive that you felt like you were a kite flying out in the wind, and then you wonder why you have anxiety. Well, we have to get you back, it reintegrated with the true power. And the power comes from within you, from your soul. Now you can run around looking for something materially that you think will ground and secure you, and that's false. That's why we accumulate all these things, because we think that, oh, if I only had that, I'd be fine. Oh, if I only had that, I'd be fine. And that, and that. And if I only had that. And it goes on and on, where you keep tricking yourself into believing that the material world will somehow relieve you of your anxiety and your stress and your fears and your underlying insecurities. But that's a big lie. That's you're telling yourself a lie. I know why you do it. I mean, we all would do that because it's survival. But the thing is, you can't heal anxiety just by adding more stuff. The thing is to strip it back And what we teach at Spirituelle is about going to those hidden underlying causes, and to pick up that fragment. That fragment has raised its ugly head and made you nervous and anxious because it's tired of feeling like it's flying in the wind. And so that part of you is saying, please take me back into your heart. Take me back into your base center, like your ground. Take me back into that alignment so I don't feel like I'm flying around aimlessly. And when
Mhm.
we fly aimlessly by the seat of our pants because we don't know who we are, you get anxiety. But when you turn it around and bring it back in, you get calm and secure and alignment. And so the goal, as you can see, is to stop putting your eyes focused on that external world only. That is a huge mistake. Our beautiful earth and our life here on earth as a physical experience is all of that. It's wonderful, but it's not all of who you are. And if you bury yourself down into just, eyeballs to the ground and chasing these material things, you're losing sight. You've lost sight. And you need to then turn it around, especially this week, please, is start to turn around to that reflection where you say to yourself, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel well. I don't like this uncomfortable feeling of anxiety and stress. And the bar just keeps getting higher when we put more and more demands of, well, if I just ran out and got that job in that particular, I would be happy and fine. And that's not true. So stop telling yourself that is not true. You have to get at the root cause. And when we bring it back to a very fine sense of self, we will feel good, and we will start to breathe better, and we will start to find our hearts settle down, and we will start to find our immune systems getting stronger. We will find so many wonderful consequences or results of just using that breath and that time spent in the quiet and the silence, that's how we heal.
Mhm.
That's how we heal. And I found that with a lot of people, when they start digging into their underlying causes of their anxiety and their panic attacks, and they find out that they buried it to survive. They buried the root, the origin, the root cause of that, because they had to survive often horrific, like maybe circumstances where they felt that there was scarcity, or there was trauma, or there was things that were making them feel disconnected. But my point is, we don't live in that past where you let that rule you. You have the tools now to say, I did have that awful experience, and I did have that, and I want to heal that. So help me to heal that, rather than me having to go on and on and on in an anxious state. And so when you start to identify, and a lot of people need help with that, it's not something necessarily you can do on your own. But regardless of whether if you want the help or not, whether you want to do it on your own, either way, the principle is still the same. You have to go to the root cause, and you have to bring that fragmented sense of self back into reintegrated state. And one of the greatest gifts that Spirituelle offers is the tools and teachings about how to use meditation and very, very in-depth reflective journaling and identification of ourselves. There's a lot of self-analysis that we each have to go through. But I'm not, I have to say this though. It's not about sitting on the couch for 20 years, and as they did in the old movies, and you'd sit on the psychiatrist's couch for 20 years. We're not talking about that. We're talking about allowing the soul to guide you. And it's a rather beautiful experience when we think about how that soul does guide us. Um, you know, I'm sure people wonder when they first pick up their spiritual practice and they think to themselves, well, if I sit down and meditate and get quiet, do you mean there's just going to be like a treasure chest of all sorts of answers come? And as much as I'd like to say yes, I have to say first, you have to quiet the monkey chatter first, because that chattering in our minds has to be stilled. And that does happen with the practice of your breathing. And it does help you to ease out of the anxiety then. And with that practice, I would say that is a huge step towards your self-governing and self-mastership over your own upsets in your nerve systems. These are belief patterns that are causing your nerve system and your body to react. These are emotional blockages of trauma, of often startling and different things that have left you in a disconnect. And the biggest one, of course, being a lack of soul connection. Our human family suffers from a lack of soul connection. It's the greatest suffering that our planet endures, and it's time to change that. And women are the best healers, the best teachers. As they start to do it for themselves, they're always so delighted to share and to help other women, to help their children, their families. It's like as they try it out themselves and bring their own angst under order and under some of their own embodied empowerment, and they realize that the breath works and the meditative practices work, then they're going to start to say, they're onto something now. And in addition, I did say, yes, of course, you have to, do some self-analysis, and that's pretty normal. Reflection. But what a milestone just to start getting that going, just to get that going.
Yeah. And I thought I would include a little section called Living Light, because this is such a time to heal. And what a beautiful day today to talk about this on Mother's Day, because it is a time where we have to get back to mothering ourselves. Yes. And regardless of our past, we are at a nodal point right now where we are being called up. We are being asked to up level. We are being asked to kind of take our hands off the wheel and trust, because it's a bit scary.
Yes.
Trust that the soul is like, I got you. I'm going to take over and actually move you onto, I said it in the podcast, move you onto the right highway. Yes. I'm going to probably have to do a detour, but you realize, and there is some grief around that, because you're like, what was I spending all my life doing? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Coiled up in dysfunction, disorder, inauthenticity, trying to make everyone else happy. And there is some grief around that. So I just want to share that that's why we want to be here for you weekly, and in our community, we're with everybody daily as well to support their journey, because this is a time of deep contemplation and to be aware that it's not what you bring into your life anymore. It's what you let go of. Exactly. And we need to clear. There's so much overemphasis on the physical body and on, I need this, I need to go to this spa, I need to buy this to be happy, I need to get this new job, I need to get a little more cash, I need to launch this program, I need to go to this event. No wonder. And today is about healing, being our own mother, and saying that is absurdity. The way we're living is absurd.
Yeah.
And we are being called back to center. And the first step to that is not to take anything in to consume. It's two things. One, we are not our physical body alone.
Exactly.
We are made up of many bodies, our emotional body, our spiritual body, our mental body. And we are overspilling We are hemorrhaging. And so when I talk to a lot of women, I said, you can work out, you can eat perfect. It's not going to do it anymore. Your emotional body is hemorrhaging and it is weighted down with the world. You can't get rid of that by running.
Yeah.
And
No.
yes, there are beautiful practices that we talk about on the podcast, but it's now about what is no longer serving me in my life.
Yeah.
Through breath work, and I know for me, a walk on the ocean every day and some breath work and meditation, and your soul will say very subtly, very softly, stop doing that. Let go of that. Give that away. Stop trying to control other people. Stop. What can I give versus the old world of what can I get?
Yeah.
Because I need more clients. I need more people in my newsletter. I need to build my business more. I need more people to connect with on all my social media is only harming you more. We are at a pivotal point for the female body where we must be aware that this is insanity and that to return to mothering ourselves and being the mother of ourselves in the world and connecting with Mother Earth, that we must now let go and clear the excess and cleanse daily, something daily out of your world so that all that's left is spiritual beauty. And like when I walk into my home, I need to be able to breathe. This is why I love the practice. I often bring up the practice of Vastu, the Vedic practice of clearing your home, and it's an energy and a art and a science all mixed in, where the airflow in your home, it's so airy, and you can feel the difference in your body when your life is overstuffed. You can't breathe. And of course, women all have anxiety because we can't breathe. Everyone is putting demands on us. We're trying to please everybody. We're trying to get all these lists done. We're trying to take care of our kids. We're trying to take care of our friends. We're caregivers for our parents. We're trying to work out and do a good job. And this is we're bots.
Yeah.
Instead of the divine feminine. And so in today's Living Light segment, I just want to communicate with all of you and say what has to go, and to shift the equation from bringing things into your home, into your life, into your car, to what can I release? And that includes emotional density. Like, we're physically weighted down, and over time that does densify into physical weight too. So we're carrying excess weight a lot of the time because it's other people's stuff dumped on our bodies and fields, and we don't have a daily practice of clearing it. So over time, and this is what's happening right now in this nodal point, women are feeling heavy.
Yeah.
Excessive, but a lot of times it's other people's baggage on our shoulders, literally.
Yeah, it's true.
And so these beautiful women of the world are feeling like they're Atlas trying to hold the world on their shoulders and like being shoved down. And so there is this, we have to effort a little bit right now to stop the feeling of caving into the density and feeling heavy and stuck. And we have to stop overly people pleasing, having no boundaries, like you said, saying yes to everything, trying to fit it. Why do we want to fit in to an absolutely unhealthy lifestyle?
Yeah.
We need to go the opposite direction of the norm to be healthy. And this is something that we must be aware of. If the masses are doing something, you have to look at, well, who do I look up to? Right?
Yeah.
I want to be free and happy and healthy and true and authentic and peaceful. And I don't know a lot of people that are living that way. So maybe I should go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for, is that, yes, there are people doing it. Doesn't mean every day's a breeze.
True.
It's not. You mess up, you fail sometimes, but there really isn't another show or platform that's, like we mentioned, that's teaching women the truth. And
If you're seeking, you shall find. And now, it's the old adage, seek and you shall find. It's the master, the stillness and the master within that provides this rebalancing to the energy bodies you're speaking of, the emotional and the mental and the reflective and the spiritual and that. We've put such an emphasis, as you clearly mentioned, about the heaviness of down into the physical, that we have been neglecting the energy body so much that there's the weight is the veils, is this heaviness of not being able to access the soul, access what comes naturally to a woman through her right brain. Men too, but we're just talking about women tonight. The right brain access to the higher spiritual consciousness, or the higher master within, the higher self, aspects of self in the soul. And I said that in layers. So it's like when you are too weighted down with the excess of the external, you may as well have a wet, thick blanket sitting over and blocking that lens, or that portal or lens up into your spiritual consciousness. And that is a very sad state for any woman to be in, because you not only you're bogged down, but you're dragging yourself through life. Then you will not know who you are,
yes,
and
and everything is
that's
kind of dull. It's like, oh,
dull.
what time is it? I got to go to a meeting. I got to go to this. You wake up with a dullness.
It's a to do. It's
Yeah.
waking up with a to do list.
And I think it's also giving women permission that it's time to let things go. And if things kind of fall apart, it's time,
Yeah.
right? You have to let go what is not true for you. And it's time for us to support each other, to know that, well, what are we afraid of? We're living inauthentic anyway, right?
Yeah.
To me, that felt like a death for me. It's like I'm not living true. And so what's worse than that?
you're, you're just putting out the trash. That's
Yeah, so I'm like, what is worse than this? I might as well let it go, but it's because there's something greater waiting for all of you right now, and your soul is trying to get your attention, but it can't get to you because there's
that's
so much
right.
excess. And it doesn't have to be material stuff. It could be overly people pleasing,
Yeah,
taking care of everybody else but yourself, not mothering yourself. There's so many ways that excess pours into your life.
that's right.
And
And
today,
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry,
I was
Kathy.
just going to say, no, and it's what's causing this, the symptoms of health challenges and anxiousness and fears and insecurities and what ifs. It's all that is the minute you pick up your head and your eyes from just looking down on the physical world alone, lift it up, and turn to your inner self and reflect. It changes your perception of life completely. And
Yes.
all of a sudden, it's not the bogged down left brain to do list. It's an internal, let's get up into where we belong with the flow from the divine to our conscious awareness. Life changes, chop, chop. And that's why this week, I can only stress it, I'll stress it again. Please tune into your inner self. If you have 5 minutes to breathe, 5 minutes to go for a walk, 5 minutes to turn off that to-do list, the powerful, I'll call them, outpouring of the divine consciousness this week is something I wouldn't want anybody to miss. So please do that.
And where you feel a little triggered with some frustration or anger, your soul's probably trying to get your attention.
It's knocking on
And
your door.
it's like, it's because you're not supposed to do that anymore. Women are not meant to live like transactional bots.
No.
We are harming ourselves. We're harming ourselves because we're disconnected from the essence and our soul signature. And so we're not able to contribute to our highest potential because we're bogged down with trying to be in a transactional world that doesn't work anymore. And so as we wrap up with our meditation, if you're interested in starting your spiritual studies and your spiritual practice and working with us on a regular basis, we have a beautiful community of women at Spirituelle that we invite you to join, where we are supporting our women around the world on a daily basis and really helping them dive into their spiritual studies, because now is the time. You don't want a day to go by anymore where you're living trivial, superficial, medicating, or trying to silence the soul from waking up. But it can be a little scary sometimes because you're not too sure what to do, and to have support is absolutely necessary. So you can just go to spiritualsociety.com. We would love to have you. We have our podcast, Spiritual Society, every week. And we always like to end all of our sessions in our community and on our Spiritual Sundays with a very short meditation to take us into just our home.
Exactly. Okay, let us do that. And let us start with realizing that this is a part of your spiritual studies. So we're going to start by closing our eyes now. And just start with some nice deep breaths in. Time. Find yourself your own rhythm of breath that is comfortable for you. By breathing through the nose, if you can. Nice deep diaphragm breathing if you can. Notice that as you're breathing, that there's a beautiful essence of light above your head, just like the sun in the sky or a beautiful star at night. And let's have this light within you and above your head represent the light of your soul, the divine light. Relax your body, drop your shoulders, let your lower back relax. And every time you breathe in, you're drawing that source light of your soul deeper and deeper inside of you. And watch how every time you exhale, that light starts to emanate throughout your body, right down into your legs and feet. It's a flow. It's a beautiful flow. And it's your flow because it's your breath. And you're breathing with the divine. The divine loves to emanate light right down here into your physical world. Let us visualize or reflect on this light as an expressive lantern of light. Try to imagine there's a beautiful lantern sitting right on the floor in front of you. It's a very large lantern with a warm light. You can almost feel the warmth on your leg. And let us playfully say that is your own soul's light reflecting to the physical world. And just breathing. Now let's imagine that you can lift that lantern up by the handle, and you can raise the lantern up to the level of your heart. And as you raise that lantern up to your heart level, that warmth, that radiance expands in beautiful, sympathetic resonance with your heart. You're emanating your light into the world through your heart. And breathing. Now let's take that light one more level. Let's imagine that we can lift that lantern up right in front of our foreheads to touch with the light of the soul above your head even more powerfully now. And you can feel the radiant light, both your soul and your lantern, warming up your forehead. And you just breathe because you have raised your light from down at your feet all the way up to your head, and gently from your soul you bring it back. So that you can walk in the world shining out your lantern, emanating your soul's light from your heart, from your soul, into this beautiful physical world that we live in. So motivating. So when you are ready now, you can begin to come back, and you can open your eyes, take your time, and bring yourself back.
Thank you so much for that little moment. I know for some of us, maybe it was the only moment today of quiet, peaceful breathing and just surrendering.
Relaxing.
Yeah. So thank you to all of you. If you want to share in the comments very briefly before you leave where you're watching from, we would love to know and just to be connected to you. And we would like to invite all of you to join us next Sunday at 7 again for our hour of connection and love and coming together, and an opportunity for women to understand that this is such a powerful time, and it's time for us to rise. It's time for us to reconnect with our soul, and it's time for us to unleash our authentic greatness. So we are sending all of you love, and we will see you next Sunday.
Thank you for joining us.